Well, the Trump train continues to march, or should I say chug along toward that nomination. But experts say Donald Trump could face some troubles with large suburbs where voters tend to be wealthier and have higher educations. In fact, if you consider suburban counties in Ohio, Virginia, Iowa, and North Carolina to be key for the November elections, so far, what we've seen really has not helped him up to this point. Rejoining me now, we've got Steve Rogers, Rebecca Berg, Tammy Bruce, and Jillian Melchior. Rebecca, maybe it's early to, and presumptuous to even talk about the general election, but a lot of people are saying we talk swing states. If you look at what happened in certain places, neighborhoods in Ohio, Virginia, it could swing toward Hillary. What do you make of it?
It could, and this is one of the arguments that John Kasich is already making in terms of his electability moving into the general election. The argument being made against Trump is that although he's winning white voters now, he's going to struggle in a general election when it comes to voters we consider to be white-collar white voters, so college-educated in middle-class or higher income brackets, the types of people who live in these suburban communities. And these are key Republican voters usually. So Mitt Romney won these voters in 2012, but he only ended up winning 59% of the white vote in that election. What Donald Trump has been saying he could do in this election is he could actually increase the vote coming out to vote for Republicans, that he's bringing together a new Republican coalition, these working class voters that we've been talking so much about. But the concern with Donald Trump among many Republicans is that these suburban voters, college-educated white voters who have typically supported Republicans would really give the party a second look if Donald Trump is the nominee.
I guess that's a little different, guys, than a never Trump crowd. But if you had to pick a weakness amongst for Donald Trump, this would be the area so far. But would it be enough to offset, Tammy, all of the independents and the would-be Reagan Democrats that are jumping on the bandwagon?
Look, we've already, this is not guesswork. We've already seen that happen for him. We've also seen evangelicals vote for him. We see Democrats crossing the line to vote for him. We don't see Republicans crossing the line to vote for Hillary or Bernie Sanders. There's a very unique dynamic here. But everyone wants to make their best argument. At this point also, look, Donald Trump has not gotten a majority in any of the states he's won. Wisconsin is going to be the first state that Ted Cruz is running in since he's gotten some big endorsements, and we expect Scott Walker to endorse him as well. So this is going to be very, very telling. But I think the general election argument that Donald Trump isn't going to be able to win, I think, is really bogus, considering what's alone the 5 to 7 million more people who voted in our primaries alone.
But I think a lot of them are people voting against Donald Trump.
No.
And you see with Hillary Clinton, with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is beating him in the general election polls by 17 points. You've got Hillary Clinton by 11 points. I think the county thing is one big vulnerability for him, but if you look at female voters, a huge Republican constituency, 30% of them say that they would be profoundly upset if he
in the analysis of the votes, let me challenge that, Joe, very briefly. In the analysis of the votes, the people who've crossed over, the Democrats and the independents, voted for Donald Trump. Those are where the new voters
I guess the question, though, is there enough of them? Give you an example. In Pennsylvania, 54,000 Democrats have changed over to Republicans, but 27,000 Republicans have changed over to Democrats. So when you net it all out, is the number big enough? I know the 20,000 number in Massachusetts, but Hillary and Bernie almost got more votes than all the Republicans combined. So is it enough to get them over the
Charles, I'm going to quote Ronald Reagan, tear down this wall. Everybody's building walls.
Which one?
Female walls and this wall and that wall. But here's my point. The dynamics of this election has changed every day as a result of national security. The people in suburbia are just as concerned about their safety and the safety of their children as everyone else around the country. And they know, and they have to know and believe that what Donald Trump has been saying all along about national security is unfolding right before our eyes.
Jillian, what do you make of that? Every time there is a terror incident, Donald Trump's numbers go up.
He does surge a little bit up, but I think we're looking at somebody who, on the whole, is terrible at foreign policy. I mean, this is a guy who didn't know that China was not party to the
but do people believe it? I guess that's the point.
No, they don't. And to say he's terrible at foreign policy, Julian, he's talking about the refugees, 100,000 more the president wants to bring in. Well, they brought them in Germany, they brought them in France, they brought them in Belgium, and they're taking those countries out.
San Bernardino aside with the refugee issue in the U.S., it's been mostly domestic terrorists. I think you've seen that in Europe, too. That's a side issue. I understand that I am on the other side of how most Americans think.
Well, the wrong side, but we'll let you go.
Let's leave it there, guys.